Hey, it's Juck, and welcome to the Juck on Bucks weekend show.
So that's the issue Notre Dame people have with Ohio State. So you want to brag about how much you're spending now in the offseason and what's going to happen or whatever. That's fine. It can all happen. But you already let the one thing that could never happen in our lifetimes happen. And I'll never forgive you for it.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is, Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country.
To start, that means we've got.
Hey, it's Juck, and welcome into the Juck on Bucks weekend show. I appreciate you joining me. We got a ton to go over today. What I hope this can do for you is provide you some college football content so that you can just have something on in the background on the weekend, because there's just not enough that comes out on the weekend, and it frustrates me. So I try to provide to you what I can't get myself. In turn, all I ask from you is that you comment and talk to me about it. That's all I want. I just want to talk about football with you. I ran into a little issue on my last video, which says on YouTube that it got 55 comments right now. And I can only read 10 comments. So if you left me a message or said something to me last video, odds are I did not get it. I responded to the ones that I can see. There's clearly some that I can't see. YouTube can be kind of wonky with the YouTube comment section is the worst thing I've ever seen. It is so difficult to find something that you see, like to re-find it. It's horrible. From the operator's end. But anyway, we got a lot to go over today. We got a ton to talk about. I got a ton of video clips loaded up. We're going to go over some stuff that some other people said. We're going to go over some film. We're going to go over some visits, some recruits, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I got a list a mile long. I don't know if we're going to get to it all. Odds are we won't, but I'll cut out the bad stuff and try to get in more of the good stuff to keep it within a reasonable time, because if it's over an hour and a half, it honestly takes me like an hour and a half to just upload the thing. So that's kind of the cutoff goal. But an hour and a half is a nice long show. I'd like to provide that to you. We'll see how long we can go today, but let's start right here. All right, if you didn't catch what we were looking at there, aside from the Lamborghinis, obviously you caught that. That was about 15 Lamborghinis lined up to the entrance of the Texas Fieldhouse as the players walk in on not the red carpet, but the burnt orange carpet into the Fieldhouse for their official visits. 15 Lamborghinis to greet them. Now, I don't know if Jamie French and what he had to say about his dream NIL deal kind of spurred this idea for them. But I must say, pretty subtle, as always, Texas. I mean, that's really something. What have we come to here? I honestly feel that if that is something that is really high on a player's priority list, like that kind of thing, if you're a player that would really just make you want to be at that program. How do I want to say this without sounding like, listen, here's what I mean. Do you think David Sanders or Emeka Ibuka, Jack Sawyer, do you think any of those guys would see that and be like, yeah, this is what I want? Or do you think that might be like, this is not really my kind of vibe? I want those guys. I don't want the guys that see that and are like, yeah, this is where I want to be. It's just not what I want. So in a way, I suppose I'm glad Texas is doing something like that. And I don't mean to say those are bad guys. They're certainly not. If I was 18, I would be the guy that wants that. But now that I'm 45, I wouldn't want me at 18. I want the other guy. So, I mean, I'm not knocking those dudes. I'm just saying I want the David Sanders style, the Josh Petty style. I mean, we could go on down through our roster, like JJ Smith style. Like these are the guys I want that are all about their business. Their goal is to get better in college and go to the NFL. And this kind of stuff, this is like, okay, I mean, that would be fine, but that's not going to attract me to your program. I'm not going to choose your program. It's not going to tip me over the edge to go to your program because you're lining up 12 Lamborghinis. In fact, those are loud and obnoxious. That's the kind of guy I want. And luckily, our guys have set the tone that it's about so much more than that. You know, the mental health aspect, like all this stuff that parents want to see. Like that's what our program, we're the grown-ups, okay? Like we're the grown-ups compared to Texas. That's embarrassing, dude. I'm sorry. What has this come to? Like that is just the lowest common denominator of recruiting I've ever seen in my life. Like my children would come up with this idea. Let's line up 12 Lamborghinis right out front and have a bunch of people revving the engines as the official visitors walk in. Like my kids would think of that idea. Yeah, not for me, bud. Not for me, but we know who it is for.
Visit to Texas. Well, Josh, we've talked about Jamie French a lot on this show, and we've said, look, Alabama led. He was at one point committed to Alabama. Then Ohio State led in the spring. Texas took command of this recruitment following a recent visit to Austin. But with that, things can change on a dime here. He was at LSU this past weekend. He told us Texas was his leader at the On3 Elite Series. Now he told me he's rethinking a lot of things after this visit. Of course, LSU. So, look, man, the quote from Jamie French on his visit. He loved it, just the brotherhood, the tradition, the culture itself, and the people in the building for sure. So LSU, at the very least, giving Texas a run for their money.
There we go again. Listen now. To be fair, he hadn't seen the video of the Lamborghinis yet. He's not at Texas this week, I don't think. He hadn't seen, or maybe he is. Is he at Texas this week? I have to double check this. Okay. If he is at Texas this weekend, I can't believe I did not check this. Hold on. I got to pause this and check if he's at Texas. Okay. Not at Texas this week, but there is breaking news. I went to check this. I'm going to read this to you. Wide receiver priority, Mandarin five-star Jamie French will announce, this is his decision date, August 30th. So that's just been released. French will commit between 5 schools on his mother's birthday, a couple of weeks after the start of his senior season. Texas is among the final schools. He will decide between LSU, Miami, Ohio State, and Tennessee. French has official visits scheduled to see 4 of his 5 finalists this summer. His official visit to Baton Rouge was last weekend. LSU made a big impression, and it sounds like LSU moved up his top schools since the visit wrapped up. Miami is scheduled to host French for an official this coming weekend. After the Miami visit, French will make a trip to Tennessee and finish up at Texas. French said in this announcement, he has no clear leader. This comes after he said at the On3 Elite Series last month that Texas was his clear leader. I mean, dude, look, it's just funny at this point. It's just, every time it's just funnier and funnier. So he's not at Texas. He's missing out on the Lamborghinis. Instead, he's at Miami. And they got the Lamborghinis at Texas. He's made his announcement date. I was told by several Buckeyes shows with a wink, wink, nod, nod that he signed at American Eagle this week. So that means, wink, wink, nod, nod, which is just, not seeing the whole picture here. Like I said the other day, that absolutely has nothing to do with anything. Ohio State might have facilitated that deal for him, and everybody wins from the deal, whether those two sign at Ohio State or not. This dude's not coming to Ohio State. Ohio State is the one that doesn't have the official visit, and I'm not broken up about it at all because I want Quincy Porter and I want Dalen McCutcheon. And if we can get DeCorian Moore, obviously I want him. And I love Des Jones. So the great news is I think we can get Quincy Porter and I think we can get Dalen McCutcheon. If those are the guys that Hartline wants, I think they can do that. So that's really what I want to see happen. And on that subject, Wilt Fung also went into the Buckeyes. Let's have a listen to what he had to say with that.
Georgia and Alabama for Bo Jackson. He was scheduled to be at Alabama later this month. He will no longer take that visit as he has locked his future in with the Buckeyes. I also like where Ohio State stands with the former SEC running back commit Isaiah West. He recently decommitted from Kentucky. He is a heavy trend for Ohio State going into his official visit this month. And then Jordan Davison. He is a 4-star running back out of California. I have an on-3 RPM prediction in favor of the Buckeyes. In fact, that was my first on-3 prediction I made when I joined this network on April 1. There's a lot of competition. Michigan is in the mix. He was just at Alabama this past weekend. But everything I hear still leads me to believe that Ohio State is the one to beat. Carlos Loughlin, new running backs coach who replaces Tony Alford, has Ohio State in position to recruit a special class at running back, and they need it. And if something falls through with any one of these guys, you got Anthony Turbo Rogers, who was recently on campus. He's committed to Alabama. You got Alvin Henderson out there currently committed to Penn State. There's a lot of guys that Ohio State could pivot to at running back, but I think they close out with Weston Davison as it stands now.
He is a top 10 wide receiver in America, top 50 player overall, trending to Michigan right now in the RPM. But, Steve, my question to you is how big of a priority is he for Brian Hartline in Ohio State?
If Quincy Porter wanted to commit to Ohio State yesterday, today, or tomorrow, he has a spot in the class. He was on campus earlier this spring. He is one of their top targets, like the ones they hosted last weekend, DeCorian Moore, Vernell Brown. Don't sleep on the Buckeyes for Vernell Brown III. And Dalen McCutcheon, he had a great visit. I could see Dalen McCutcheon ending up in Ohio State's class as well. Same goes with Quincy Porter. Obviously, they're battling Michigan there. He's looked at a few other schools, including Alabama and Penn State, where he took an official visit last weekend. But I think this one's setting up nicely for Ohio State to make another major move this weekend with their pedigree at the position.
All right, we'll see if they can shift the momentum.
All right, so obviously the two guys I've really, really wanted for a while now, he just so happens to bring him up. That sounds really nice. That sounds really, really nice. I would love nothing more. Let's get into this Air Noland news. So this morning, Friday morning, there was a big buzz when I popped into Twitter that Air Noland was no longer with the team. And I could not find the news that everybody was talking about anywhere. And then I heard somebody say it was on Bucknuts. So I went to Bucknuts and I did not see this headline anywhere. So I dismissed it. And then later on in the evening, Ohio State tweeted their picture from camp. The guys working out, and prominently in the 3 pictures that they tweeted was Air Noland with a huge smile on his face. Clearly, still with the team. And then people were ragging on Bucknuts and their credibility and what a joke it was. I go, what the hell is good? Somebody tell me where this was and why everybody keeps saying Bucknuts had this. I did not see this at all. I went to Bucknuts. So then I was sent this article right here. And I'm going to pull this article up so we can take a look at it together. Okay, so here's the post here. Unfortunately, we have learned through multiple sources that true freshman quarterback Air Noland is not with the team right now for personal reasons. Now, the good news is that he has the backing of Ryan Day and is expected back at some point. More good news is that the Buckeyes just kicked off their summer conditioning program with Mick Marotti this week. However, a source does not expect Nolan back in Columbus next week. No, I would be shocked if that happens, the source said. He'll probably be down in Georgia for a while. Getting himself right is the most important thing here. And from a football standpoint, let's be honest, he wasn't going to play this year anyway. He would have been 5th on the depth chart, maybe 4th if he would have surpassed Lincoln. It's funny to hear fans refer to the spring game and how Air Noland outperformed Julian Sayin. Yeah, well, maybe he did, but ask anyone on the team who was by far the better quarterback throughout spring, and they would say Sayin for sure over Air. It's been an interesting few months for Nolan since he joined the program in January. He is a talented quarterback who seems to be very well liked by his teammates, but there was also an incident in February where he was late to a meeting with the quarterbacks and running backs. Then a few days later, when he and a few teammates were signed up to volunteer for a food drive, he was considerably late to that too. The coaches were less than pleased about both situations. Okay, what we got here is a fine print situation. Always read the fine print before you go spouting about on social media that you read something somewhere. Because at the bottom of this page, it reads this. Disclaimer, the house is a place for rumors and gossip and innuendo. We don't treat it as inside information like some people do. Yet, you guys love to hear the good stuff. To do that, we have to disclaim we don't know if any of this is true, not attribute it to any particular source, not attribute it to any particular reporter. So essentially, they're saying right off the rip, this could totally be nonsense. We don't stand behind this journalistically. And it's also behind a paywall, I'm told. So it's for subscribers behind a paywall. They straight up say it's gossip and you like to hear gossip. And we don't know if any of it's true. But Bucknuts is getting absolutely roasted because the Ohio State media team put out the picture of Air at practice or at conditioning. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. It could still be true. We don't know that yet. I don't think it is, but is it? It's difficult, right? Like if you put stuff out like that, I guess you can expect to get roasted. But it is behind a paywall, and at the same time, when you say listen, we don't really stand behind this journalistically, but then you put this at top on the top here. One entry was Jaden Ricketts showed up at Ohio State camp last year and ran a blazing 40 time. Expectations are he'll duplicate that, but be more of a force during one-on-ones. And then you put yesterday, Ricketts camped at Ohio State. He now has an Ohio State offer. The BH strikes again. So you're essentially touting the accuracy of this, right? You're bragging that you nailed one from last week and then saying, but also we don't stand behind this. I don't know. You're getting into a little bit of a fuzzy area there for me. Is Air Noland with the team? Can someone confirm this? Because if so, I would really love to know. There's still speculation that picture might be old and that Ohio State, man, I know. I need to stay off Twitter. I get it. It is entertaining, though. It is entertaining. And that's what we're doing on the weekend show. We're just here to have fun. So the quarterback situation, listen, I mean, if I was Air Noland, and when you think about this whole thing with Air Noland, I'd be a salty dude, right? You'd be pretty salty too, I'd imagine. I've heard nothing else of this situation other than from that there, though. You'd think we'd have probably heard about it by now if there was any truth to it. But there is some truth in that story, obviously, just reading between the lines from everything that we watched from spring camp. Yes, Julian Sayin was definitely better than Air Noland. And, Air did look really good. Looked like a real gamer in the spring game. He did, man. I was happy for him because, he was clearly fifth all spring. And he really seemed to ball out. Looked like a playmaker. And it felt good watching him out there making some plays. On top of that, the situation he was in from the beginning, getting Sayin in that class when he was expecting to be the only quarterback, and then Sayin coming in and getting all this hype about how amazing he was during spring. Couldn't have felt good for our guy Air. That's for sure. Could not have felt good. Then you got the stories floating around that you're having issues, whatever those were. And nobody ever pinpointed what those were, but I heard several people say, Air's having a tough time. Don't know what that meant. Still don't know what that meant. But you never know what's going to happen next year. it's going to be a really interesting situation if Devin stays, which I think he will. You're going to have a quarterback battle between Devin, Lincoln, Julian, and Air. Like, can we just imagine this for a second? You also got Tavian coming in as a freshman. But Devin Brown now would be going into his third straight starting quarterback competition, 2 years of eligibility left, potentially having shown us in 2024 a whole lot on the field. Because I mean, I expect Devin to play plenty this year. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you expect Devin to play plenty? I would expect it's not going to need to be a serious blowout before Devin gets time in games. I mean, I think in certain scenarios, it may be a 14-point game and Devin will be in there. I could be wrong, but I feel like Day really wants to work him in and integrate him into the offense, not just in mop-up duty, but, third quarter, Buckeyes are up by 14. Let's give Devin a couple series now. It feels like that's the way that he might want to go here to me. And I'm here for it, man. There's definitely an injury chance. I want Devin to be as experienced as possible. And maybe coming in situations like that in spot duty gets him more relaxed, makes him feel, we've still never seen this. And I always need to remind myself, we've still never seen this guy play a full game. And I don't write him off a bit. I really don't. I think he's got big talent and big ability. And maybe Devin comes in games where it's still crucial. He still needs to perform. 14 points in late in the third quarter. Bucks are up by 14. He comes in. He needs to perform. He doesn't need to be Superman, but he needs to manage the offense, get him settled in. I think it'd be a good strategy. And I kind of get the feeling that that's what the plan is outside of big games. It would be cool to see. But what do you got next year then? You got Devin coming back, somewhat experienced. Let's say he doesn't totally ball out. Let's say he does solid. And then you've got Dev, Julian, Lincoln, and Air. What are we thinking in that situation here? Let's handicap the race. In that scenario, I've still got Julian as the favorite. And I'm not just basing that on how I feel about Julian. I'm basing that the same way I based the Ryan Day hot seat situation. I'm basing that on what the boss thinks. And I think in this situation, the boss is absolutely enamored with Julian Sayin. We heard him talk last week about the quarterbacks, and he said they're pretty much all the same except Julian. And I still don't know what he was talking about there. How is Julian different from those other four guys? As far as skills, we're talking about these guys. None of them are run first guys. They're all pass first guys. I think that Lincoln and Air are probably the most athletic, but they're still looking to throw first. Will's a really good runner and very athletic, but more of a physical style runner. DB and Julian, these guys are more gunslingers, but they can extend the play with their athleticism. Really nice pocket passers. I get the impression that some people think Julian is a bit of a stiff athletically. He's not. He's an absolute playmaker. But, we know that. We've watched him here. But how is Sayin different? Did we catch Ryan Day slipping there? Did he say the quiet part he was thinking out loud? Am I crazy for thinking that? I kind of think that what he meant was Julian's different because Julian's amazing and he's a way better passer than the rest of them. I kind of think so, guys. I really do. I know it's crazy, but I think we might have caught him slipping there. I think he said what he thinks all the time and what he says behind closed doors to the other coaches out loud. Let's watch a little Julian Sayin. This pocket awareness is fantastic. Obviously, we know his balls are fantastic. he extends plays beautifully. Look at that. Look at this dude. Hey, man, listen. This is no stiff athletically. This guy can move. Throws on the run beautifully. I mean, every one of his highlights, he's moving. The different arm angles. He's got it all he's the modern day prototype, really, aside from a couple of inches and a couple of pounds. Man, you guys got to see Brady Edmonds. Oh my gosh. The Buckeyes offered Brady Edmonds yesterday, class of 2027. This dude, 6'5", 200, another California kid, but his grandpa's from Cuyahoga Falls, the city right next over. I'm 10 minutes from Cuyahoga Falls. And they're Buckeye fans from California. Came to camp, absolutely loves the Buckeyes, wants to play quarterback in the Big Ten. His arm is disgusting. It's crazy. Let's have a look at what Tom Luganbill thinks of Brady Edmonds' arm. This is the guy that he was at camp last year at Ohio State, again this year. Big Ohio State fan. Berm said that his dad said on his phone, his goals like 3 years ago said play for Ohio State. So the kid loves Ohio State. I did some digging on him, and this is what Loogie had to say about him.
Scott's take on a 2027 class quarterback named Brady Edmonds out of Huntington Beach, California. Now, I must say this is a pure arm strength appreciation post, and I've included some overlapping video here of him at our Under Armour camp at Mission Viejo High School, so you can really get a sense of how the ball jumps off of his arm. It's as if he's got a cannon registered to his shoulder. It carries, it finishes, tremendous velocity, actually some pretty good body quickness and twitchiness from Edmonds for a kid that comes in at 6'6", 205 pounds. Just watch the arm strength, man. I mean, it's crazy how the ball comes out of this dude's hand and where he can take it. Pretty impressive.
High probability that this dude could be the number 1 overall quarterback when they get around to doing that. He's too young right now. They haven't done that yet. I got his high school film from his freshman year loaded up, ready to go when we want to watch it. Wow. Serious wow. And he is absolutely enamored with Brian Day. He said he's kind of thinking about Ohio State, Michigan. He likes Texas, but he says he definitely wants to play in the Big Ten. And he's named Brady after Tom Brady because his dad grew up in Boston rooting for the Pats. So named Brady after Tom Brady. But they're all Buckeye fans. So looking really nice. He got it. I understand that we've been talking a while and been really concerned about why it is the Notre Dame fans are irritated with us and why they're so mean to us, why they give us so much grief, and what we can do to make life easier on them. Don't worry, I couldn't explain it, but there is a guy who can. Let him explain to us why this is the case.
If you win the title this year, I don't care. You just allowed the worst case scenario to happen on your watch. You have no utility to us. That was your one redeeming quality of Ohio State. The one single redeeming quality was you used to block Michigan out and make their lives miserable. You don't do that anymore. So you have no practical utility to Notre Dame at all. So if you feel like people are a little more harsh towards Ohio State, that's why. You used to provide us with one thing. Now you don't even do that. So that's the issue Notre Dame people have with Ohio State. So you want to brag about how much you're spending now in the offseason and what's going to happen or whatever. That's fine. It can all happen. But you already let the one thing that could never happen in our lifetimes happen. And I'll never forgive you for it. You had 3 years to figure this shit out, and you didn't. You guys sat there and said, we see what's happening, and we're losing to them, but I still think we're better than them, and we don't have to change anything. Your arrogance is what allowed that Michigan thing to happen. Because you didn't adapt, you didn't adjust, you didn't do anything. You just came on here and said, we're still better than you, and we don't need to change anything. Now look what happened. Now look what happened. So I have no respect for that. That Ohio State arrogance is the reason you let Michigan rise up for 3 years, thinking you didn't have to change anything. And you let all of America down. And it doesn't matter to me if you win the next 5 titles in a row. You already let the one happen that couldn't in our lifetimes. That's on you guys.
Wow. Okay. For starters, I love that guy. That is awesome, man. I don't think I could take too much of him, but in small bits, that kind of passion, I love it. He's so like that. That's how all of us feel inside. I don't mean the thought, but the anger, that frustration, that those guys won a title. No doubt about it. That's how I feel inside. But man, I saw that, and my initial reaction when he was talking about, you saw it happening for 3 years and you did nothing and kept thinking, we're better. We don't have to change anything. It hit me. It hit me deep, because going into those games, after 21, we're going into 22, that entire year, I wasn't concerned about it in the least. We're the better program. There's no way that's going to happen again. We just had a down game. It happens. Nothing worked right. I refuse to believe that we were a soft team. I refuse to believe that our guys got bullied. They just had a bad game. That's it. There's no chance that that team can beat us again. No chance that idiot Harbaugh can beat us again. But there was things going on we didn't know. We did not quite understand what we do now about their strength and conditioning coach. This guy was amazing. He's amazing. Listening to him talk is just like, wow, this is an impressive dude. They had a really fantastic staff. They really did. I didn't know it at the time. I gave Harbaugh so little respect. And I just thought we were going to roll him. We were going to go into 22 and roll him up. We go into 22, closer game. I couldn't believe we lost again. And after that game, we're rolling into 23. And I'm thinking the same thing again. He calls it Ohio State arrogance. A lot of people accuse us of that. Is that what that means? Maybe, right? Because I thought there's no way. It's just not happening. I was so confident. I can't even measure the confidence, even though the entire season watching Kyle McCord, and it wasn't just him, but the entire offense was just a dud, just an absolute dud of an offense. I continually thought it would pick up, but our defense was so doggone good. The offense just never picked up. It never got better. The quarterback was a poor leader. And yet still going into that game, I thought there's no chance. They don't even have their head coach. Like, there's no chance they're going to beat us this time. And I didn't think it would be particularly close. I thought that their entire season with that weak schedule, I thought it was all smoke and mirrors. They were a one-trick pony, and they couldn't do that one trick on us. And then it happened again. And even still afterwards, I still think we're the better program. I think everything we've done since shows that we're the superior program. That we can lose those 3 games and still just improve our team. But they got the shine, man. They got the gold. It's an unjust world. And I feel that Notre Dame guy. I feel that irritation. I feel that anger. I think it's misdirected. But there is maybe a little bit of truth to it when I am honest with myself about my Ohio State arrogance and the fact that we had just done for so long, just dominated them for so long, that it took a couple of drubbings to get it through my thick skull that no, we need to be better. We need to get better. We're just not going to roll the ball out against them anymore and win. They have improved. They have some extra assistance that we cannot quantify and never will be. And let me tell you this. I know a lot of people want the hammer dropped on that program and are waiting for this NCAA stuff to come out for the penalty. I could not possibly care less about the penalty. I want to know the details. I want to read the 700-page report. I want to know everything that happened. That's what I want to know. Whatever the punishment is, I'll be happy with. I almost don't want it to be a huge punishment because I want to beat them at their full strength over and over and over. And I don't want them to have any excuses that they have less scholarships. Like, I don't want excuses. I don't care what the penalty is. I really don't. The penalty is not going to change what happened. And I don't want them to have any excuses. I want to beat them at full strength every year from now to the rest of my life. And, that can't happen if there is some kind of penalty. I don't know. What do you guys even think the penalty would be? You cannot make it effective to remove scholarships. Do I want everything wiped out? Yes, I definitely want that. Wipe them off the face of the earth. Everything that happened for the last 3 years. I do want that. But I mean, moving forward, I don't even know how you penalize a team anymore moving forward. You used to take scholarships away. You still can reduce visits, in-house visits, things like that to affect recruiting. But if you do a whole bunch of that, then you're not beating them at full strength. And I want to beat them at full strength. I think the problem is I interact with them too much. If I interacted with them less, then I wouldn't care so much about things like them having excuses about it because I wouldn't have to hear it. It's tough, guys. It's really tough. I got to admit, I would hate to be the guy who has to figure out what the appropriate punishment is because, like I said, it's unquantifiable how much this actually helped. We can't put a value on it and say it robbed all those people of this many points and it gave them this many points. You can never figure that out. So in my opinion, when you're in a situation like that, someone has done wrong, you can't say exactly how much it changed. You have to lean towards being more harsh than less harsh. I think that's only fair. But here's what this idiot, their general manager or their athletic director had to say. This just came out. And let me tell you, this really, really bothers me what this guy has to say. All right, skip the first paragraph and go down to the second. In protecting our people, Jim, our staff, our coaches, this university, to make sure that process was adhered to. And so my disappointment, and I like Commissioner Petiti, my disappointment was the insertion of going into the process earlier and ahead of it with the conference. And again, he's whining about the Big Ten getting involved when they did, knowing full well that Petiti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, was sitting there with all the other members of the Big Ten telling him, we will not stand for this. We have a team that we know was actively cheating right now this season and has in their hands an unfair advantage. How was Petiti supposed to do anything but take action? There didn't need to be an investigation into the wrongdoing. There was video evidence of the wrongdoing. We all saw it. We all know the tickets the guy bought. We all know the people that put him up to it. We all know about the people that he sent to the games. We all know Uncle T. We all knew all that immediately. It's just insane to have this attitude that there needed to be some long, lengthy process to take immediate action. More immediate action should have been taken. It's hard to say what you would have done in that situation because you're tainted being the guys who received the worst of all of this. I mean, it's not a nightmare to anyone like it's a nightmare to us. So it's very difficult for us to be objective. But I think that if I was Tony Petiti in that situation, that I most likely would have pushed very, very hard to try to disqualify them for participating in the rest of the season. That's what I think I would have tried to do. Now, odds are with legal issues and stuff, I don't think that would have been possible. But I can tell you this, the suspension of Jim Harbaugh would not have been just for game day. That's for sure. That was a joke, man. The dude coached all week and had to, those 4 hours had Sharon Moore sit there on the sidelines. That was a joke to me, an absolute joke. So, anyway, I don't even want to talk about this. I can't stand this. Let's talk about this boner. Not this one. I like this guy. This one. Now he's talking about I had a recruiting show the other day. Michigan will get about 8 4-star kids in June. You Hilljacks don't do your homework as usual. Ryan Day has a soft team that Michigan will blow out again this year. Michigan will load up on D linemen, offensive linemen, while OSU loads up on skill guys that won't play in games. Michigan will have a top 10 class with guys that play tough football. OSU will have a class full of less intelligent cousin kissers. I'm confused. Do they think of us as like Southern folk? I've never heard this before. Hilljacks? Part of me wants to be like a outdoorsy kind of guy. I think I told you the other day. I got into this survivalist show and I wanted to like camp and stuff. I'm as city slicker as they come. I don't know what he's talking about when he's calling me a hilljack. But I can tell you this: no, you won't get 8 4-stars in June. That's not happening for you, pal. Also, oh my gosh, this is funny. It's just too funny. I got to show you this. Okay, so if you're not familiar, I assume everybody who's watching this is familiar, but if you're not, mom, listen. When we get a commitment from a recruit, that means a guy who we want to come to our school. When he chooses us, it is a tradition amongst Ohio State, started by Mark Pantoni, who's a guy that started with Urban Meyer at Ohio State and is still there. He's kind of the director of player personnel. To say boom, right? And boom is like boom, we got one. Okay, it's exciting. Michigan folk have kind of tried to commandeer this, like they try to copy everything we do. And yesterday, I ran across this. It's the best tweet I've ever seen in my life. This is a Michigan guy, and he is booming a crystal ball prediction. Not a commitment, a crystal ball prediction. Unbelievable. And these fellas who are Michigan fans, commitments coming soon? You know what? Forget it. I don't want to talk about them anymore. That's it. Reach my fill. Don't even know how I got that far into it. Let's talk about this.
And I had a lot of people arguing with me. No, they're not now or never because of their historical success. So Ohio State. So, right. It's not now or never for Ohio State in terms of national title contention. Because like if they don't win the national title this year, an Ohio State team at some point in the next 2 or 3 years is going to be competing for the national title because that's what Ohio State does. Mm-hmm. But you are rarely going to see a team as set up to win a national title from roster to coaching staff to everything more than this Ohio State team.
That's true. You can't deny that. But you also can't deny that oftentimes you aren't suspecting the team going into the season to be the team that it is at the end of the season. We've seen a couple of national championships like that. So, yes, it looks like on the surface this one would be the team, but we all know we've seen teams come out of nowhere, or even, let's take next year's team, for instance. It's going to be a young team. It's going to be a team that doesn't have the highest of expectations on it. It's going to most likely have a new starting quarterback, unless, Devin ends up the starter at some point and he comes back next year. It'll have a new starting quarterback. It will have a bunch of, I'm going through this and there's like a lot of spots that are going to be first year guys. But for the most part, they're going to be guys who've been in the program and been experienced and hopefully this year have played a lot. I guess what I'm saying is there's a decent chance, we know they're talented dudes, that even though we're not expecting as much out of next year's team, sometimes those are the teams that jump up and surprise you. And with a little mixture of proper leadership and coaching, those teams sometimes win national championships too. So, that's why I hate making definitive statements like this now or never crap. Additionally, when you say now or never, that generally implies that something has not happened, right? Well, we are 10 years removed from a national championship. So to say now or never, a bit disingenuous. I don't think being 10 years removed from a national championship is a particularly long time, to be honest. If you won a national championship every 10 years, one national championship from the beginning of the time we started playing football, Ohio State would have the second most national championships to Alabama, just at that pace. So saying now or never is kind of silly. Let's continue with Andy.
So Clemson in that Fiesta Bowl, Clemson still had Trevor Lawrence, still had Travis Etienne, still had T. Higgins, and it was a very close game. There was a controversial targeting call that if you're asking an Ohio State fan, they'll tell you that changed the game completely.
Look at the smirk. Is there anybody who disagrees with that? Like, is there any objective person who disagrees with that controversial? Like, he can just say the wrong call. We all know it was the wrong call. That's really not debatable. I've never really heard anybody who wasn't a Clemson fan say that wasn't the wrong call. It absolutely changed. What are you kidding me?
It's like, hey, what's the offensive line going to be? We got great skill players. I think Will Howard is kind of polarizing when that's a whole other discussion in itself. But people question the offensive line. Like, I remember watching Oregon just run circles around everybody with 3-star offensive linemen and below when he was at Oregon. So that's
and I think they overachieved with what they had at UCLA offensively in terms of the talent they had. Mm-hmm. And now he has a lot more talent. He doesn't have to be in charge of recruiting it. Ryan Day's in charge of recruiting it. So you hand Chip Kelly this uber talented roster and say, okay, now overachieve with this and see what that looks like.
It's going to look amazing. It's going to look amazing. We've been talking about it forever. That is the biggest thing that happened. Maybe aside from the scene. Well, no, not even. I think that that's bigger for this team. Maybe not specifically of this year. Well, it doesn't make sense. Is anything bigger than that? It's definitely as big as all the seniors coming back. I mean, or is it bigger? It just might be bigger. It might be bigger because if the seniors come back and Chip doesn't come on board, how confident are you feeling? If half the seniors leave and Chip comes on board, I'm still feeling like we're winning a national championship. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Chip's the most important thing. Chip is the most important thing. And he absolutely overachieved. I think we talked about this last week when someone said to me, I don't think that Chip is working with better parts at Ohio State, which is pretty ridiculous.
Especially in Columbus, like it's a bottom line business. You got to beat Michigan and you got to go win national championships. Now he was however many feet away that kick was from the left upright from going and winning a national championship against Georgia when they had that college football playoff game in Atlanta back in 2022, I suppose it was 2023. So all that's to say, it feels now or never for Ryan Day, as much as I disagree with that. But, you know, he knows what he signed up for being the head coach there. And it's got to be this year with all they have on defense and all they have on that roster period.
And that is exactly right. And we'll be talking about that field goal, which really isn't a field goal. You needed some more extra yards. That was never going in at that distance. But, you know, you just add it to the list of the near misses we've had for national championships. The problem is it's happening to a guy who hasn't won a national championship yet. And our previous two coaches who are legends won their national championship early in their tenure. And once they had that off their back, these things weren't such a weight on their tenure and on, you know, the way people judge them, because they had one in the pocket already. So once RD gets his in his pocket, things are going to be good. And I got faith in the dude because he's a smart guy. He's done a great job so far, and he has made the appropriate changes, looked within himself, saw the issues in his program, didn't stick his head in the sand and say, I'm this close, just keep doing what you're doing. Changed it around, noticed his flaws, his personal issues with the team, how he was running things, and changed things. And those are the type of people in life that I want on my team. So, all right, guys. I was planning on going for double this length, but I've received a message from Mrs. Juck, and I got to cut it short. So I'm going to release this one today for Saturday morning, and then I'll do another show, the second half of the stuff that I got to get to, which is a lot more tomfoolery. So plenty of tomfoolery to come for you on Sunday, but this one will be on Saturday. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much. Please leave me a comment and tell me what you think about what Ryan Day accidentally slipped up and told the truth that Julian's saying was different in the fact that he's just on a totally different level from everybody else in college football. And what other questions did I have for you? Oh, wait, there's one other thing I want to go. Let's go over a couple more comments before. She can wait a second. Let's go over the comments. All right, here's from my buddy Eric Tell. Eric, thanks for the comment. No disrespect, but no one was even talking about Isaiah West at all until he was linked to Ohio State. That's the thing about Ohio State is every single recruit is just hyped so much. I think we need to stop doing that. Well, generally, Eric, when you're talking about most Ohio State recruits, like the vast majority of the guys we're recruiting are the type of guys that are, at least, the last several years, very, very highly rated guys, guys that everybody in the country would be extremely happy and excited for and super hyped about. Now, when you say this, I feel like you're saying, okay, so it's okay for it to be those guys. But now we're talking about a guy like Isaiah West, and all of a sudden, oh, we're going to talk about him and make a big deal about him. So I understand where you're coming from when you say that. The difference for me is I did not know about Isaiah West because Isaiah West is lower rated. However, Rivals' internal rating has him rated just one spot below Jordan Davison. So somebody obviously thinks he's an excellent back, right? Now, when I got hip to him, then I watched him, and I've shown video of him. I've even talked through the video and explained why it is that I like him so much. So as far as everybody else talking about hyping him up, I think they probably just watched Juck on Bucks and saw the film and realized, whoa, we got us a diamond in the rough. I think that's probably what happened. But I get what you're saying. But I'm telling you what, he is the absolute truth. Honestly, I would take him over Jordan Davison in a heartbeat. I know most people would not. Jordan Davison, I think, is the number one back on Rivals. He's really good. And he likes Ohio State. So I like people that like Ohio State. But anyway, that's my opinion on your question there. But I do understand what you mean. Okay, Reinhardt is going to be at camp. Hope he gets that offer from Matt Hoffman. Thank you, Matt. Listen, Reinhardt did not get that offer, and he's upset. So I tweeted today about Adam Guthrie. Adam Guthrie is, well, we'll talk about Guthrie tomorrow. Anyhow, okay, we'll talk about him now. Adam Guthrie, 6'7", 285, was at camp, and I got his video to show you guys, which is why it's not loaded up, which is why I didn't want to talk about it now. But Adam Guthrie is one of the 4 stud linemen we have next year, along with Sam Greer at Hoban, Will Conroy at St. Ignatius, Maxwell Riley at Avon, and Adam Guthrie out of Miami Trace. So you got these 4 stud linemen in Ohio. You got Riley and Conroy, the 2 interior guys. Then you got Sam Greer, who's 6'8", 300. And you got Adam Guthrie, who's 6'7", 285 at the tackle. A ready-made line right here in Ohio. Now, Sam Greer has had an Ohio State offer since he was a freshman. Maxwell Riley for a long time. Will Conroy got offered in January. Adam Guthrie went into camp this week, did not have an offer. I thought that was strange. So Guthrie goes to camp. Highlights are coming out of him. My gosh, I want to show you. I'll have to show you tomorrow because it's not loaded up. No, what? I got to pause this and load this up because now that I'm talking about it, I have to show you. All right, I'm back. So I got it loaded up. First, let me show you. All right, here's our guy. Now, he is the one in green. The fella in black is his older brother, who, as you can see, and again, the gentleman in green is 6'7", 285. That's his brother. So, yeah, man, little brother of a dude that size, he's tough. You get toughened up when you have an older brother like that. So here is Big Guth yesterday or Wednesday at camp. No, Thursday at camp. Now, right there, that's a 4-star. Stonewalls him. He did not lose a rep the entire day. Look at those feet. Keep in mind, this dude's 6'7", 285, and watch his feet move. Look at the hands. Look at the reach. Look at the length of those arms. We're talking about measurables on top of measurables. That guy just hit the deck. So, big-time prospect, okay? Top 200 overall guy and one of the Ohio 4. So, I've talked to him before. I saw all these clips coming out on Twitter yesterday, and damn, he looked good. So I let him know. I said, hey, wow, you looked great yesterday. Congratulations on a great day at camp. And his response to me was, "Thanks, man. Hoping to get that offer soon." Whoa, what? I thought he had an offer. He doesn't have an offer yet. And I was blown away. How in the hell does this guy not have an offer yet? He's 6'7", 285, moves like that, top 200 prospect, has 30 offers from all around the country, SEC offers. I mean, look at these. We're not talking little offers, big time offers. This is a real deal prospect. Doesn't have an Ohio State offer. I talked to him further. They told him, keep doing what you're doing. Okay. He wants the offer. He is a Buckeye through and through. And like I said, you got a ready-made starting offensive line, the kind we win national championships with, an Ohio offensive line of a bunch of dirt nasty, high prospect Ohio State Buckeyes from Ohio. He doesn't have an offer yet. Now, I think he'll get an offer. I don't think it's any big deal yet. It's just puzzling to me how you let him walk out of camp like that even without giving the guy an offer. I mean, this is the real deal Holyfield. Anyway, disappointing. And he sounded pretty disappointed, but a really positive attitude. And he's going to get that offer. I know he's going to get that offer. But the point is, and I started this, it was a Kentrell Reinhardt comment. So I tweeted Guthrie about Guthrie today, and that he did not have his offer. And Kentrell Reinhardt commented on my tweet and said he should have got that offer. He's national too, as in I'm national. He's national too. He should have got. He's upset, man, and I feel so bad for that dude. I feel bad for him because I was rooting so hard for him to get that offer, but he's clearly upset after, he tweeted last show, go where you're wanted. And it's funny. Remember when Javon Boggs tweeted, go where you're needed, not where you're wanted. Like the exact opposite. No, it should be Kentrell Reinhardt's tweet, which is go where you're wanted. And I can understand totally, these dudes got so close. You know what I mean? They got so close to that dream of just about every Ohio high school football player. They were right there on the cusp, and they've still got great places to go. Like they're going to play big time college football. And sometimes that lights a fire in a guy that propels him to great things. So I certainly wish the best of luck to Kentrell. And it's not over. I mean, he still may get it. You never know. There's still time. But, feel bad for him. I certainly was rooting for him, and he's upset. So that's a real bummer. That's a real bummer. And Jake Cook, of course, did not get his offer either. I still think Jake's got a shot at that. Jake does too. Okay, this was interesting here. So I think French is the victim of the recruiting industry and nothing more, and Buckeye fans have been baited into the worst response. Now, I asked my buddy here if he could elaborate a little further. I haven't gotten a response back yet. But, I mean, it's a very fair point. You take a young guy like French, put him in front of all these cameras, and everybody's going to react differently to this. Everybody's going to react differently. But check out the response to him here. And this is another very insightful one. You may be right. In any case, this is a byproduct of the system. Not all these 18-year-olds are built to resist the bright light of fame and attention that is so appealing. It doesn't mean they can't conform or be willing to. It just means the potential for issues is very strong. In a game that is so dependent on teamsmanship, it's a huge risk to ignore the red flag. I think both these guys make great statements. I couldn't have said any better myself, so I'll just leave it at that. Thanks, fellas. I mean, good conversation. What do you guys think? Jamie French, the victim of the current, the way things, to a certain extent, I do agree with that, because when we look at, and I just talked about it last show, NIL It's about your name, and the more people know you, the more you're in the news, the more headlines you make, the more valuable you become. So, to a certain extent, if you want to do the Trey McNutt with 9 hats overflowing out of your arms and release all those visits one at a time, that's 9 times you're now in that, oh my gosh, Trey McNutt, instead of one time you release all your visits. I mean, there is some savvy business stuff going on. But some of the guys, you look at them and you're like, okay, yes, that's true. But I don't think he's doing it because of that. I think he's doing it because he's really eating up this attention. I'm not saying anybody is doing that or that there's anything wrong with that. But I certainly understand why someone might be turned off by that. And I really understand why somebody might be turned off by a guy who seemingly is doing things that you would kind of consider flaky. Like, okay, I have a great relationship with these people, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I release a top 4, and they're not on there. That's flaky behavior to a lot of people. I don't think that is a byproduct of the recruiting industry or the way things are currently. That I disagree with, but I do see your point. Shoot, I was supposed to go. All right, guys. I'll be back tomorrow. Talk to you later. Check 'em Bucks out.